This year, Ipswich Town secure back-to-back promotions and will be playing in the Premier League next season for the first time since 2001. And thanks to some amazing work by the people at FMRTE, I can start a save right now in real time and take them into the Premier League. So we will say sorry to Kieran McKenna as we replace him in the manager's seat to see what we can do with the Tractor Boys. So guys, here we are using the real-time database. You can see Leicester City promoted as champions, Ipswich Town also promoted, and at the time of recording, the playoffs have not happened yet. Leeds, Southampton, West Brom and Norwich are all going to be in there. We've got Birmingham, Huddersfield, etc. all in here. We've got the Premier League table up until 35-36 games played. You can see Arsenal are top of the table. We'll see how well this video ages and see if Manchester City do ultimately go on to win that title or if it's Arsenal. But you can see here, using this real-time editor data, you can see all of the leagues that we have. I think England is covered down until 6 tiers, so you can kind of see all the way down Sky Bet League 2. The Vanarama National League is here. They've already done their playoffs, but Chesterfield promoted and stuff like that. So you can kind of see the data that we do have, and it's not just this league as well. You kind of can see La Liga's here as well. We've got Bundesliga currently, Bayer Leverkusen unbeaten. Will they continue that run? We shall find out. But you can kind of see what this database has got, and that is why we are going to take Ipswich Town into the Premier League. Their fate has already been sealed, so that is what we're going to do. We've got summer to play with, but I will say there's not a huge amount of money to spend. Yeah, that's one problem I do have with this database, but we'll see if we can do some dealings, a little bit of wheeling and dealing. We do have a tactic which I will try and figure out in a minute. I kind of want to play a 4-2-3-1 similar to Kieran McKenna's style. We'll find out if that does transpire. Let's get into season 1 and see if I can do anything over the summer, because in theory this will be a huge transfer window for Ipswich and what they can actually achieve. So guys, we're going to start on this screen, and we haven't made any transfers. Now, this is one of the downsides of this database. Obviously, it's very difficult to code this kind of stuff in, so we did not have a transfer budget. So I'm going to be running into this season in the Premier League for the first time since 2001 with this team. Now, I've gone for a 4-2-3-1. I've called it the Tractor Boys. It's based loosely around what Ipswich have been doing in real life, so I didn't want to go too far. I know they're not very aggressive down that right-hand side. It's all Leif Davis on the left-hand side, but I wanted to try and strike some sort of balance with this, so this is what I'm kind of doing. I want it all focused in attack around Connor Chaplin. He is going to be my go-to guy. 17 finishing on him. Looks very good. 5'6", a nice diminutive little shadow striker to run in this. It's kind of built around him as the attack. We've got Wes Burns and Broadhead on the wings, and then Hurst is kind of up there, up top on his own. But the team is looking pretty good. I'm not expecting great things out of them in the first instance, guys. If we go over to the competitions tab, you can see Carabao Cup or EFL Cup. We also have the Emirates FA Cup and the Premier League. And if we go and have a look at the season preview, you can see Ipswich go on to finish bottom of the table according to that media prediction. Hopefully we can do a little bit better than that, and the eagle-eyed of you would have noticed that Man City won the league in this particular simulation, beating Arsenal to it by just 2 points. That is harsh. That is very harsh. But we're going to dive in to season 1. We're going to simulate the whole season by going on holiday and see how we can get on. I will take 17th. I don't want anything more. I just want to stay in the division. Let's see what this tactic can do. And yes, it's one of mine. It's not one of GYR's. So I might struggle a bit, I feel. Our main goal in Season 1 was Premier League survival, and we got off to a terrible start, losing our opening 3 games of the season without even scoring a goal. We then got things back on track with a 2-1 win against Fulham, before going on a fantastic 6-game unbeaten run, including a 4-3 victory against Manchester United. To my surprise, we carried last season's morale into this campaign and continued to pick up more wins than I was expecting, especially with using a tactic of my own. 2 players really made the step up, the first of which was Connor Chaplin, who dominated from the central attacking midfield spot and provided 30 goals along with 7 assists in all competitions. The second player was left back Leif Davis, who continued to be outstanding, providing 20 assists along with a single goal of his own. This lad is definitely one to watch next season in the Premier League. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does make that step up in real life. Moving into 2025, we continue to be remarkable, even smashing teams like Spurs and Crystal Palace, on our way to a 4th placed finish. This would mean the club have gone from League One to the Champions League inside 3 full seasons. Performances in the domestic cups weren't there this season, but I don't really care, as we will be playing in the Champions League next season. And this summer, the massive transfer budget has landed, and we have just shy of £74 million to spend, and I think we need improvements in right back and in defensive midfield. So let's go shopping. So guys, we're going to start on the transfer screen because yes, I've been very active in this transfer window. First of all, we do have 2 players to talk to you about as they've both departed for Saudi Arabia. 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 has gone to 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪. He has departed again. For some reason, Saudi love signing players from me. He has departed for £14.5 million. He did play most of the games for us last season, but £14.5 million is quite good. I was quite happy to allow him to move for that fee, and I wish him the best over in Saudi. And he's going to be joined by 𝘼𝙗𝙤 as well. He has also gone to Saudi. He's gone to 𝘼𝙗𝙤 to see how he gets on over there. Again, I wasn't overly confident he could be a Premier League striker, so when they offered £10 million for him, it's a good turn of profit for us. He only scored 16 in the Premier League last year, 17 in all competitions, so £10 million seemed like good value for money for me. Now, we got very active in the transfer market. I'll talk about the most expensive ones first, and then we will work our way down to the free transfers, because obviously we raided the free transfer market. First up, 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 𝙤𝙗 has come in from Addons. He is brilliant in this year's game, the Serbian central attacking midfielder. I'm not going to play him there. I'm still going to allow Chaplin to play there. I want 𝙤𝙗 to actually play out on this left-hand side. I think he can be a real danger there. High dribbling, first touch, free kick taking, long shots. I think he is a very active player, and I think, yeah, midfield orchestrator really does suit him as well. He came in from Addons for £17.5 million. Stefano Torati is our new goalkeeper. We've improved in that particular position as well. 16 reflexes, 17 one-on-ones for this guy. Big fan coming in from Sassuolo. Youth international for Italy, and Italy are very well renowned for producing good goalkeepers, in my opinion. £12.5 million for him. Rodrigo Villagara comes in as well, Argentine youth international from Talleres over in Argentina himself. I wanted a very good defensive midfielder. I don't want him to do anything going forward. I kind of want to let the attacking 4 players kind of do their thing. I wanted someone with good tackling and good passing to kind of anchor this defense, or kind of defensive midfield spots. And I think he can be the guy. Good anticipation, good positioning, good vision as well. 15 tackling and passing. He is exactly what I needed in that particular position. We also picked up big Samu over from Atletico Madrid. He was in their second tier. I love this guy. He was one of the most upgraded players in the January update. So yeah, please do go and look at this guy, because he is absolutely fantastic. 6'4", physical specimen, absolute beast. If you start a new game now, he's even better than this, so please do go and check him out. He came in from Atletico Madrid for £10 million, so the £10 million from 𝘼𝙗𝙤 was spent on him basically. We've improved him right back as well, as we've picked up Kelvin. Kelvin is how I'm probably going to butcher this guy's name. He has every single attribute in double digits for a right back. A very good improvement for us, coming in from CSKA Moscow, obviously Brazilian as well. £7.5 million for him. Paid $450k for Neil Maupay as another striker option. He's going to back up Samu this season, but for $400k, I think he's a very good addition. Premier League tested, hasn't really scored a bunch at Everton. In real life, he's a little bit of a shithouse, and I kind of quite like that, to be honest. Moving into the free transfers, first of all, we picked up Johnny, the fullback from Wolves. He can play as fullbacks in both positions. Key squad player for us. Probably won't start many games, or I wouldn't have thought so unless we get a lot of injuries, but a very good squad player for us nonetheless on a free transfer. Selvik is our backup goalkeeper. You know how many goalkeepers you need in FM this year. He's a big frame at 6'2". He's okay, nothing spectacular. He's a backup goalkeeper. I won't spend too much more time on him. 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 was released by Chelsea in this world, so we picked him up on a free transfer again. Backup as Leif Davis, for Leif Davis, in my opinion. I think he can be a very good squad player for us as well. Nathaniel Phillips, well, Nat Phillips has come from Liverpool as well. He was released, another centre-back option, basically replacing 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪, who has gone over to Saudi for free, which is nice, a nice little addition. And then finally, we picked up Sean Longstaff, again, another supremely well-rounded player to play in that defensive midfield spot. High work rate, high teamwork, good positioning as well, good stamina, bravery, all of that good stuff. And he comes into that defensive midfield position. We aren't going to be pinning Big Samu as our striker for the whole season, but if we quick pick without restriction the other positions, this is how we are lining up this year. And what I would probably look at doing is putting in 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 in there, and that'll basically be how we're probably going to line up this season. I mean, Tuanzebe would come in instead, but yeah, that's kind of how we'd be set up this season. So some key additions for us in goal. We've got another new centre-back, new right-back, new defensive midfield partnership. 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪, I think it was an absolute steal at the price that we got for him. And then obviously Big Samu is just a handful in this year's match engine, so I'm hoping he has a good year. Competitions-wise, we will be making our Champions League debut after last season's 4th place finish. The board are expecting us to fight bravely against relegation in the league. And if we have a look at the season preview, we are 500 to 1 to win that title. And yeah, Neymar's at Newcastle. It's mad. Unai Emery's at Newcastle as well. Marco Rose has gone to Manchester United as well. So that's their manager after Ten Hag. I don't know who's going to go there in real life if they do sack Ten Hag, but I think we can finish higher up the table than 16th. So let's simulate the season and see how these summer additions impact our team. This season was all about proving that we wouldn't be a disgrace in the Champions League whilst building on last season's Premier League finish. So the priority wasn't the domestic cups, and you could see that in our performances as we suffered a defeat in the 3rd round of the EFL Cup to Middlesbrough, losing 2-1 at home. Things did go better in the FA Cup as we advanced past Gillingham, Exeter City and Wolves before facing Manchester United in the quarter-finals. The game took place at Portman Road, but it was United who took the lead in the first half through a Bruno Fernandes tap-in. Rasmus Højlund doubled their lead in the second half before Cameron Humphreys reduced the deficit with a lovely curled effort, but sadly we couldn't find a second goal, so exited the competition at the quarter-final stage. In the Premier League, we were handed a tough opening fixture against Manchester City, but after that opening day defeat, we put together an outstanding run that spanned through to the middle of November, where we lost 2-0 to Newcastle. Big Samu was our main man up top this season and proved that us putting our faith in him was the right idea. The young Spaniard scored 22 goals in 46 appearances this season and has proved to be a real handful for those Premier League defences. Leif Davis continues to prove that he is a monster even at this level by scoring 3 goals and providing 22 assists, and he's now wanted by Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia. So that'll be interesting to see if they do come in for him. 2026 started with a bang as we routed Manchester United at Portman Road and followed that up with another 4-0 win against West Ham. And before the transfer window slammed shut, we managed to sell defender Harry Clarke to Al-Ittihad for £20 million to help bolster our bank balance. Back on the pitch, we suffered more defeats in the second half of the season, but went unbeaten in April to improve on last season's performance by achieving a 3rd place finish. There is still plenty of a gap between ourselves and champions Liverpool, but there is something we can do about the 10 losses that we did suffer this season. As we had Champions League football this campaign, I knew it would be a bit of a baptism of fire as we were rubbing shoulders with Europe's elite clubs. As expected, in the league phase, we suffered several defeats against the likes of Atletico Madrid, PSG and AC Milan, but we did manage to sneak into the playoff places with 9 points and a 22nd place finish. That meant we'd have a knockout playoff fixture and we were drawn alongside Portuguese side Benfica. The first game was played at Portman Road and we put in a real dominant performance, winning the game 3-0 on the night with goals from 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪, Kelvin and Wes Burns. Then in Lisbon, we extended our lead with Connor Chaplin converting from the spot to open up a 4-0 aggregate lead, which we actually did need as Benfica clicked into gear and added 3 goals of their own through Morato, Rafa and Schelderup, but we were able to hold on to that slender lead and progress into the round of 16. Here we'd face the team that defeated us in that league phase, and it was Italian giants AC Milan. Yet again, we were at home in the first leg but failed to make a breakthrough of our own, with Milan players scoring all 4 goals in the game. Charles de Ketelaere scored twice for Milan, but Malik Thiaw put the ball in his own net twice for us on the night to see the game end in a 2-2 draw. Then, sadly, in the San Siro, we couldn't put in a performance that I know we are capable of, getting dominated from the start of the game, losing 2-0 on the night and making it 4-2 on aggregate. But as far as a first season in the Champions League goes, we cannot really complain. However, this is something we can definitely build on for next season. The board continue to back me and throw investment my way as we have a summer transfer budget of £68 million and a £300,000 a week increase in our playing budget. I guess this is one of the perks of managing in England. So starting off with the transfers, we had a major outgoing this summer, and yet again Saudi came calling. Stefano Turati is now playing at Al-Hilal over in Saudi Arabia. They activated his minimum fee release clause of £39.5 million, so we made 27 million quid on him for just one season, which I am quite happy with. But that did mean we had to find a new goalkeeper, and we also had extra money topped up in our transfer budget. So we went out and we spent some of it. £68 million was spent in total. The first player that we did bring in, well, not first player, but the first one I want to talk about is 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 𝙈𝙚, who came in from Crystal Palace. He had a relegation release clause of £23.5 million, and we bit Palace's hand off for him. 17 dribbling, 16 first touch, good passing, good technique as well. Great mentals in the areas that I want him to have. He's going to play in that shadow striker spot, and I am a big fan of his. The goalkeeper reinforcements that we did sign, Noah Atobolo, he comes in from Freiburg. I always see this guy go to Manchester City in other saves, so I thought I'd have a go with him this year, this save, and see how he gets on. Good positioning, good reflexes. He's 6'3" as well, high technique, so hoping he can do really well for us. He is injured to start the season, but he will settle in as well. He came in for 20 million quid, so we made some good profit on Turati, and even made some money replacing him as well, which we were able to spend in other areas. Lenny Yoro comes in from Lille, another one of those improved players in that January transfer, January winter update, whatever I'm trying to say. The update from SI, he was improved in this one as well. So we're looking forward to seeing what we can do with him. Hasn't really played an abundance for Lille in this particular save, so we're hoping he can kind of make an improvement here. His new centre-back partner, Omar Soleil, has come in from Red Bull Salzburg. Amazing player in this year's game if you've not tried him. 6'4", high jumping reach, absolute monster in the air. £12.25 million was spent on him to come over from the Austrian Bundesliga. And then the last one is Mbala Nzola. He comes in from Fiorentina after his contract was released. Another physical specimen to back up Samu, basically. Unbelievable physicals on this guy. 16 pace, 17 natural fitness, 17 strength as well. He's 6'1", high aggression, exactly what I want in that position, basically. If we go into the tactic and have a look at how we're going to do things this time around, Lenny Yoro and Samu are going to be pinned in those particular positions. If we quick pick the other spots, this is how we're looking going into the season. Obviously, we do have a goalkeeper who needs to come in and play there. I probably fancy Villagara there. So this is kind of how we're going to line up. Actually, no, it's not. My assistant's done this absolutely terribly. Eze is going to play there, and we're going to do that. So this is kind of how we're going to set up this season. Chaplin moves out to the right hand side, obviously with that left foot to cut inside, but this is how we're going to set up. Samardzic, Eze, Chaplin behind Big Samu. The team is looking good. We've made some key additions where we needed to. Obviously certain players need to learn their roles, which I will transition Chaplin and Eze and stuff like that, but I think we're going to have a good shot this year. Obviously competitions wise, we have the exact same 4 as last season, but the board are expecting a mid-table finish. Now obviously they are investing quite heavily in the team, so I kind of need to reward them with that. We are 250 to 1. Oops, there we go. 250 to 1 to win the league. So it's going to be interesting to see how we do get on. I'd like to continue to finish inside the top 4 consistently now. That is the main goal. Thomas Tuchel is now the Man City manager. Don't know how I feel about that, but we're going to simulate season number 3 and see if we can continue finishing inside that top 4. Now, I have to start the Season 3 review by saying this is almost the most miraculous season I have ever seen 3 years into a rebuild with a team like this. First, let's start talking about our performances in the domestic cups, as in the EFL Cup we had our best performance of the save so far. We progressed through the early rounds, defeating Derby and Aston Villa before facing Liverpool in the quarter-finals. The game took place at Portman Road, and despite giving a good account of ourselves, Liverpool came out on top thanks to a goal from Luis Diaz and an Axel Tuanzebe own goal. But this is still the furthest that we've got in this competition, and we carried that momentum into the FA Cup as well. Here we moved past Reading, Cardiff and Burnley to set up a quarter-final tie with Newcastle. We reached the quarter-finals last year and lost to Manchester United, This season, we absolutely routed Newcastle, winning the game 5-0 with 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙕 scoring an impressive hat-trick. So that meant that we advanced into the semi-final stage with the game being played at Wembley, where we would take on Manchester City. 𝘼𝙗 continued his good goal-scoring run in this competition by giving us the lead in the 28th minute, but in the second half, City roared back into the game with goals from Yeremy Pino, Phil Foden, and of course Erling Haaland to see our cup run come to an end. This season, it seemed like we were a bit of a cup team as we really acquitted ourselves well in the Champions League. We had some slightly easier fixtures in the league phase and managed to pick up 6 wins and 18 points, meaning we secured a 3rd place finish in the table and automatic progression to the round of 16. Here we were handed another easier tie in Getafe as we'd faced the trip to Spain for the first leg. And this is where I ended up with a little bit of egg on my face as Getafe won the game at the Coliseum 1-0 thanks to a nice team goal that was finished off by Vasco Sousa. But in the return fixture, we came flying out of the blocks, netting 4 goals in the first half to completely obliterate the Spaniards, ultimately progressing with a 4-2 aggregate win. Next up was German champions Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals, and this time we'd be at home for the first leg. And to my surprise, Nathan Broadhead scored twice, once in each half, to see us open up a nice aggregate lead to take to Germany for the second leg. With us on the road, Bayern pulled a goal back through Ansu Fati, but we managed to put in a solid defensive performance to advance with a 2-1 aggregate win. I was starting to get a little bit of a nosebleed at this point because Ipswich Town should not be in the Champions League semi-finals this quickly into a save. But it was familiar foes here as we'd faced fellow Premier League side Manchester City. We were at home for the first leg and got off to a great start, scoring early as Omar Soleil was on hand to head home at the far post. Mbala and Zola then extended our lead on the half-hour mark as he received the ball inside the penalty area and fired across Ederson and into the back of the net. That is how the game finished, but we all know what City are capable of at the Etihad. But we kind of caught City cold in the second leg as Big Samu scored twice in the first half to open up a more comfortable aggregate lead. Haaland did score for City just after the hour mark, but Rodrigo Villagara was able to put the game beyond doubt shortly after to see us advance into the Champions League final. A new winner would be crowned this season as we took to the field against French giants PSG. But sadly for us, most of the team suffered with a little bit of stage fright and mistakes cost us throughout the game. Xavi Simons gave PSG the lead on the 19th minute and Mbappe made it 2-0 on the half hour, pouncing on yet another defensive mistake. Then in the 93rd minute, Mbappe got his second from the penalty spot to see PSG lift their first ever Champions League in this universe. But could we get back to the competition with another top 4 finish in the Premier League? Well, we faced Manchester City in our first game of the season and suffered defeat at the Etihad, but after that result we put together a 14-game unbeaten run to see us power up the table. Key players for us this season was the duo of Big Samu, who was our top goal scorer again, scoring 17 in the Premier League and 31 in all competitions, and Leif Davis, who dominated the assist charts, racking up 21 this season, along with 5 goals of his own to boot. Our form in 2027 couldn't match the start of the season as defeats were much more common, but we did have some spells of success through the second half of the campaign. We finished the season with a run of 5 successive wins to see us secure a 5th place finish and narrowly secure a route back into the Champions League next season thanks to that extended coefficient place. Despite finishing down in 5th, this is actually the closest we've been to the title, just 7 points behind back-to-back champions Liverpool. This team feels like it's on the cusp of total dominance, and I received even more investment from the board as I now have £107 million in my transfer budget and an extra £800,000 a week pumped into our Wade budget. That will allow me to get very aggressive in this transfer market to get this team over the hump and finally win some silverware. So guys, going into season number 4, we had an absolute war chest to spend and we added to it with the sale of 2 major players. Nathaniel Phillips has gone to Stoke City for £22.5 million. He has gone after not really being with us for that long, but we picked him up on a free transfer. He played 2 decent seasons for us in the Premier League and he's now gone back into the Championship for £22.5 million. I don't understand where Stoke have got all their money from. And Neil Maupay has departed for France. He's gone over to Nantes to probably finish his career over there. Hasn't really played played in abundance for us, but was a good backup striker when needed. Played a lot in that first season, but hasn't really since 𝘼𝙗𝙤 come in to be the backup striker for us, so he has departed. But we spent £121 million on 5 players, well, on 4 players really, because one of them came in on a free. So we're going to start off here. Simone Profundi comes in from Udinese, the second player that we've picked up from them after 𝘼𝙗𝙤. He came in for £40.5 million. That was his minimum fee release clause. High first touch, high dribbling attributes as well, good technique, and he's only 21. He's got 4 caps and 1 goal for the full Italian national team and looks like a real threat. We needed an extra body on that right hand side, and I think he is going to be the main man to start for us this season. He played in Serie A last year, a full campaign for them, 32 appearances, 4 goals, 4 assists in the league, which is pretty solid for an AI team. I'm not too happy. I wouldn't be too happy if that were his numbers for me, but we'll see how he gets on with us. We also activated another relegation release clause, second one in a row in the summers. We got Eze last summer. We got Amadou Onana from Everton this time around. He was relegated with Everton. Finally, Everton got relegated. £44 million was his minimum fee release clause, the former Lille man. And I'm hoping he can go on to be a very good player for us. 16 tackling, good vision as well. Nice high physicals, but he's a big body as well at 6'4". I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in the defensive midfield spots. We picked up Jonathan Tah from Bayern Munich. He'd moved from Leverkusen to Bayern Munich and hadn't really played too much in the Bundesliga, so he was transfer listed for £10.25 million. He's 31 years of age. He's got major caps for the German national team, so I think a good veteran centre-back is really good. He's also 6'5" with 18 strength and 17 jumping reach, so set piece threat 100%. And the last player that we picked up is Sacha Boey from Galatasaray in this universe. He has got 16 tackling, a nice aggressive fullback here, 16 pace, high balance and stuff like that, so you can kind of see why we picked him up. He's going to be our new right back. And then finally Filip Stankovic came in as another goalkeeper, because you can never have too many in this year's game. The board, everyone was fuming that we picked him up. I don't think he'll play a single minute for us this season. If we go into the tactic, guys, I'm not actually going to pin anyone in this season. I think Samu's probably good enough to hold his own for the most part. So this is how the team's going to look going into the season. 𝘼𝙗𝙤 in goal. Boey, Soleil, Tah. Davies, one of the original survivors from the original team, is still here. Villagra, Onana are in there. Profundi, Eze, 𝘼𝙗𝙤, and 𝘼𝙗𝙤 are knocking about. But we do still have Connor Chaplin is still there. Cameron Humphreys is still here from the original squad. Wes Burns is out on loan. Nathan Broadhead as well is also still here. So we do have some OGs from that squad, but I must admit there's not that many 4 years into the future. If we go into the competitions tab, we do have the same 4 competitions yet again. The board are expecting a top half finish. I'm not surprised after me spending 127 million or whatever it was. We are 50-1 to win the title, so long shots, but we are predicted to finish in that top half. So I think we can have a very good run at the title and see how we get on in season number 4. The first piece of silverware on offer this season was the EFL Cup, and we advanced past Stoke and Southampton early before facing Liverpool at the quarter-final stage for a second season in a row. This year the game would be played at Anfield, and despite the Reds taking the lead early through Dominic Szoboszlai, we dominated the game and finally got our rewards in the second half, as Samu scored a quick-fire double to see us win the game 2-1 and move into the semi-finals for the first time. The EFL Cup semis are played over 2 legs, both home and away, and we would face who else but Manchester City. The first leg was at the Etihad and was a tight affair, with Nico Williams scoring the only goal of the game in the 11th minute. We did manage to pull the tie level at Portman Road through Amadou Onana, but City regained the lead thanks to a pile driver from Rodri. So we lost this one 2-1, but that is still our best performance in this competition in this save. This year we had a brilliant performance in the FA Cup, demolishing lower league opposition in the early rounds before taking on Manchester United in the quarters. We were at home for this one and needed extra time to secure our pathway through to the next round, as Lazar Samazic scored the all-important winner in the 119th minute. It would be Liverpool in the semis, and after a 0-0 draw through 120 minutes, the game would be settled via penalties. Connor Chaplin netted our first spot kick with ease before Noah Atabolu denied Alexis McAllister with Liverpool's first penalty. Both sides continued to score from the spot, giving Jonathan Tah the chance to send us into the final, and you can always trust the German in a shootout, as he sent Kelleher the wrong way to see us move into that FA Cup final. We faced Arsenal at Wembley in the final and got off to a woeful start, as Sean Longstaff was shown a straight red card for his challenge on Bukayo Saka in the 12th minute. The Gunners took the lead minutes later through Gabriel Martinelli, but then we were all a part of the 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 𝙈𝙚 show. The former Everton man pulled us level on the 42nd minute, lashing the ball past Ramsdale from just inside the area. Then just before half time he put us into the lead with a deflected effort again from the edge of the penalty area. I couldn't believe what had happened, but then just 3 minutes into the second half, he completed a 6-minute hat-trick, tapping in a 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 flick-on from a corner. So even with 10 men, we were in the lead, but Arsenal began to throw everything at us and pulled a goal back through Emile Smith-Rowe. However, we were able to hold on to that 3-2 lead and win the FA Cup, replicating the club's heroics of 1978. In the Premier League, we took a little while for our summer signings to settle as we lost 2 of our opening 3 fixtures, but found that rhythm, eventually going unbeaten through September, October, November and December to see us catapult back up the league. It will come as no surprise as our 2 key players were the same 2 players as always who actually had their best seasons to date numbers wise. Samu was the club's top goal scorer, netting a career high 18 goals in the Premier League, whereas Leif Davis provided a massive 26 assists in all competitions from that left back position. We extended our 4-month unbeaten run into 2028 with results against West Ham and Aston Villa before suffering our first defeat in 19 games against Manchester United. Despite that loss, results remained largely positive in the second half of the season, only suffering another 3 defeats in the remainder of the campaign to see us crowned Premier League champions, winning the club's first English League title since 1962. So we already had 2 trophies in the trophy cabinet, but could we rival the club's 1981 Europa League success with a win in Europe? Well, we almost went flawless in the league phase, only suffering 1 defeat to Liverpool in that final league fixture. We picked up 17 points from our 8 fixtures, which saw us automatically move into the round of 16. Here we'd face Sporting from Portugal and would travel to Lisbon for the first leg. Sporting took the lead on the night in the 20th minute, but 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 was able to pull us level just before half time. Then in the second half, Conor Chaplin was on hand to lash home inside the penalty area to give us a 2-1 lead to take into the second leg. Things didn't get much better for Sporting at Portman Road as we coasted to a 3-0 win on the night to progress with a 5-1 aggregate win. In the quarterfinals, we'd face AC Milan, who knocked us out of the competition 2 seasons ago, and in the first leg at the San Siro, Eddie Nketiah scored the only goal of the game to see the Italian side take a slender lead into the second leg. But at Portman Road, we continued to look exceptional, scoring a goal in each half through 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 Eze and Jonathan Tah to advance into the semi-finals. After defeating 1 team from Milan, we were drawn alongside Inter in the semis and would be at home in the first leg. And to my surprise, we dominated this one without even getting out of second gear, scoring 4 goals without reply to effectively put 1 foot in the final for a 2nd season in a row. In Italy, Nicola Barella pulled a goal back for Inter, but 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 put the final nail in their coffin with his neatly taken goal in the 88th minute to see us move into the final. It was English opposition in that final in the face of Chelsea, who we actually have a winning record against. But it was Chelsea who took the lead in the final through Nicholas Jackson, but we clapped back just 60 seconds later with a goal of our own as Eze powered into the area and fired into the back of the net. Christopher Nkunku gave Chelsea the lead for the 2nd time in the match, but yet again we were able to score just 60 seconds later, this time with Amadou Onana arriving late into the penalty area to apply the finish. And then just before halftime, Onana added his 2nd of the game, with Simone Profunde providing his 3rd assist of the 90 minutes. Chelsea tried to get themselves back level but couldn't find a 3rd goal of their own to see us lift the Champions League trophy and secure a historic treble with Ipswich in just 4 seasons. And this is where you can take over the save right now. I will post both the save and the tactic over on my Patreon. You can go over there and get them for yourselves and you can carry on this story, or for free you can try out this tactic which I've used. I might even release it as a YouTube video myself, but if you are still here watching, you can get the tactic for free over on my Patreon right now. And hopefully you did enjoy this. If you want to see more of these using this real life database, or even if you want to see how we do this and how you set up this database, let me know down in that comment section. If you want to watch more rebuilds, check out this playlist. It's all of the videos that we've done on this year's game.